بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. This coming night is an extremely important night for all of us, especially during the current climate, but more so for our destiny as is written for this coming year. It's quite interesting that we're in a situation which is unprecedented in the sense that we've seen pandemics and global pandemics, but we've never seen such a global pandemic that has affected every individual on the face of this planet. Now, the fact that we're sitting in our homes, the fact that we're zooming in, is in and of itself a ni'mah. I remember at the very beginning of this pandemic, people asked, they said, what's going to happen about our majalis, our remembrance, our gatherings? And a thought came to my mind at the time that in 1400 years, this majlis of Sayyid al-Shuhada has not come to an end, has not been stopped. We've been lucky in the last 100 years to be able to go to our centers, our masajid, our Husayniyas, our baragahs, and commemorate and remember the dhikr of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. However, we've faced no difficulty whatsoever. You go back 1400 years ago, and you'll see in the time of the Abbasis, how mothers at night time would take their children out of Baghdad so that nobody saw. In the dead of the night, they'd go into the desert, they'd sit down, and they'd remember Imam Hussein. And a mother would be teaching her children this dhikr, this remembrance of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. You've not seen it that badly. You've had it easy, you and I both. It's easy for us. We've been gathering, there's been no issue over the many years, over the many decades. However, there's a survival instinct within the Shia community that even though we are in lockdown, but Allah's given us a wasila. And in fact, it's the tawfiq. This is tawfiq ijbari. You have two types of tawfiq. One is given to you through your own free will. One is put upon you. And this has been put upon you. For every single person who's said over the last decade, 2 decades, throughout all of their life, ever since they've been fasting, we wish we had time in Ramadan, in the month of Ramadan, to be able to focus on Allah. Well, guess what? You've got that time now. This is the best time, and this is your best opportunity that perhaps you will get in your lifetime, unless if something like this happens again. And at the same time, times like this give us hope. The environment is cleaning itself. Today, human beings find that there's less crime, there's less issues, at least within the confines of where we are living in the Western world. Does this mean this is going to remain? Remember one thing. If human beings don't work on themselves, this optimism that we're having for a new era, for a new world after coronavirus, well, in honesty, it's only going to get worse. It's going to be tenfold worse, most probably. Why? Because the example is like the example of, if you notice a Pepsi or Coca-Cola or Sprite, you shake it. When you open it, you find that the pressure that is released makes half of the content of that container come out. Same thing. We're like in a pressure cooker at the moment. We've been deprived from the haram that we were doing before. Unless if we're people who work on ourselves. Therefore, if you want a better world, if you want a better community, in this time of solace, in this time of being by yourself, work on yourself. Because otherwise, all this goodwill will come to nothing. And the fear that we have is the rise of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, xenophobia, especially when an economic crisis is looming in. As you know, we're already in a recession. So, you see, in times like these, people look for scapegoats. What we must do as communities, be they Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and otherwise, use this opportunity, this time that we have, to spiritually perfect ourselves. In all of our faith traditions, we all have a spiritual side. Be it in the Judeo-Christian communities of the Kabbalah, be it in the Irfani tradition of the Shia community, be it in the wider Tasawwuf traditions of our Sunni brethren, be it in the Vedic traditions, be it in the Buddhist traditions or otherwise, and even people who don't have faith, at least they have a form of compassion and ethics, because every human being contains that within us. So look, we have a beautiful opportunity, and that opportunity is now to make a difference. How does one make that difference? Well, at least for faith communities, what's important is to become God conscious. We have an opportunity here to become more God conscious. Without that God consciousness, you cannot really achieve much. Why? Because we're going to fall back into our own old ways. To change something requires you to focus upon that, to recognize the fact that something needs to be changed. Today, you may not be committing a sin, right? You may not be doing sins because you're not facing the public. Those people who have a vice, let's say, God forbid, they commit indecencies, sensual indecencies. But at the moment, you're stuck, so you can't do that. Tomorrow, when everything else opens, we have a great problem, or at least a great anxiety that we could fall into haram again. We could fall back into, and even be exacerbated. So what we must do is we have the best opportunity now, this tawfiq, to be able to work on ourselves. And so thus we have to work on ourselves. Also remember there's certain nights of the year which change our destiny. One of them being the 15th of Sha'ban, one of them being the 19th, 21st, 23rd, 27th. Even the night of Ashura is very powerful. We need to utilize it. But anyhow, Laylatul Qadr, according to most of our traditions, has been emphasized. That is tonight. We therefore have an opportunity to change our destiny. Now I say this and you listen to this, but for the vast majority of you, it doesn't mean anything. So well, how is it possible for us to change our destiny? Or, okay, fine, theoretically we believe that. I'll give you something practical. Look, I remember 9 years ago in my own life, I was faced with a tribulation, you could say. And remember, many a time it's man-made, this reaction to what we do. But anyhow, let's say it's a tribulation 9 years ago. And I needed a miracle. So I needed a miracle. At the time, I was in an alim's house. That alim obviously wasn't there because he was on tabligh. And I remember sitting on my musalla, and at that moment, when you do tawassul, and we're going to go through all the a'mal, but at that moment when I did tawassul to Muhammad and ala Muhammad, with all of my heart and my prayers, everything that I had, all of the wujud, then I know that it works because the next day, 24 hours, a miracle took place which saved my life. And today I'm alive in front of you. So the fact of the matter is that miracles happen on this night. Destiny is changed on this night. I'm no one special, but if you, with all of your heart, do dua, it can change your life. For those people who are marid, pray tonight, Allah will change your destiny. For those of our children who are going for examination, tonight is the night to do dua. Obviously, you have to work as well. It's not like it's a freeload. But at the same time, you do pray and you see your destinies changed. For those people who are having marital problems, Allah can resolve them tonight. For those people who are unable to get married, tonight is the night for resolution. For those people who feel that there's no cure for them, remember, there's always a cure with Allah. So you try your best tonight. You work hard tonight. You work hard to change. I'm going to just mention one more thing. I'm not going to elongate this because I know tonight is very precious and you'd rather get on your musalla and pray as opposed to listen to a lengthy lecture. You see, these nights which have gone are also mansub to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Remember, when one Quran summit is revealed, one Quran Allah goes back up, completes the cycle. Laylatul Qadr, therefore, is better than 1,000 months. This month of Ramadan is the best of all months. And the reason being is this, is because one Quran was revealed. From the Arsh, let's say, the message of Allah is revealed to the Prophet to deliver to you. Allah's infinite knowledge cannot be contained. However, you find that in the formation of the Quran, everything is encapsulated in a book form. In fact, when it was revealed onto the heart of the Prophet, Then the Prophet then reveals it to us. See, words cannot hold. Words limit by its very nature. The dilemma that ulama faces is the word of Allah, because it's come in Quranic form, has it been limited? And if it has been limited, then the Quran is not actually the word of Allah, but it's actually the word of the Prophet. So the question is this, and many philosophers have debated this: is the Quran actually the word of Allah? Because Allah is not limited. So everything that you see, alif, lam, mim, all of the words from Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is limited. It's words, Allah's la mahdud, right? It's la mahdud. So is this Quran actually Allah's word, or is this actually the Prophet's kalimat that encapsulates this Quran? Well, the Quran is a miracle, there's no doubt about that. And it is kalamullah. And one of the biggest reasons is this: because the Quran in and of itself is multi-layered and multi-dimensioned. The reason it's delivered in Arabic is because the Arabic language is wasi'. And Allama Tabatabai, even on one verse of one of the places that he discusses a verse of the Quran, he says there are over 200,000 probabilities of just this verse, which tells us that that is human beings within our knowledge. But imagine Imam al-Ma'sum. So a book which is for the end of times. Remember, creation is continuously being created, right? The nature of it, continuously from the time of the very beginning to now, is a continuous formation of creation. It's haqaiq and its haqiqah rests in the Quran. So therefore, the beauty of it is this, that even though the Quran may seem finite because of its words, kalimat, but the kalimat go very deep. You know, there's an entire ocean within that. And this is why we need Imam al-Ma'sum. We don't have the knowledge to understand the intricacies of this book, but Imam al-Ma'sum, ilm al-Dunni, attached to Allah, has complete understanding of this book. And so this is why it's important. So on this night, when the Quran is revealed, and this is why you're fasting. So imagine the best amal that you can do is fasting, because this was prescribed to you in that month that the Quran was revealed. This night will only be beneficial to you on a number of conditions. The biggest condition is the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. If you don't have that wilayat in you, then it becomes very difficult for you to fully actualize that potential. And the haqiqat of this night, according to a tradition from the 6th Imam, is actually the secret of this night is Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Look, I don't have time or even the opportunity to go into great detail on this. We can potentially explore this at another time. This will at least take me an hour just to explain what that means. But what I am going to say to you is this: remember this tawassul tonight. The biggest secret I can tell you and share with you is that remember the secret of Fatima alayhi salam on tonight for the acceptance of your haja. And more than that, look, you know, you limit yourself when you say the only thing we want is haja. It's not about your desires and wants only. The most important thing is to try and become a good human being, to gain liqa Allah on this night. Because if you do that, then automatically the biggest reward you can have is peace. More than anything that you can ask for is actually peace. Because human beings are suffering. In this confinement, in this physical world, you find we are all suffering. So the biggest thing you can ask for is peace, liqah. But as this night is mansoob to Amir al-Mu'mineen, then I'm just going to mention 2 or 3 points. Right, what is Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen famous for? Well, these nights, at least, the mansoob to Amir al-Mu'mineen, you've just gone for the shahada, the darba, and then the shahada of the Imam. You know, there's a famous saying that Sunnis and Shias both believe in, right? The day of Uhud comes, the fighting is taking place, and it's mansoob that Jibreel comes from the heavens and he says, La fatah illa Ali, la sayf illa dhul fikar. This fatah means what? It goes back to futuwa. Futuwa in English means chivalry, right? So you can imagine Imam is chivalrous on the battlefield. She's showing the height of chivalry. In Farsi, it's known as Javan Mardi. Question is this: what does this mean? Within the books of Irfan, Futuwa itself is a maqam, and it has 3 stages to it. I want you to remember these 3 stages. I'm not going to go into great depth into this, because again, it would be doing an injustice if I opened up a chapter without completing it. So I'm just going to give you a summary. Futuwa. The first stage of fatwa is this. The first degree of fatwa is this. That you leave quarreling, you remove hatred from your heart for other people, and at the same time you embrace those people who have wronged you happily. So it's not about tolerating people. You remove, for example, the need to quarrel, to argue. There's a term called ittisar, which has come in the books of Irfan. The idea that when you argue with someone, you quarrel with somebody, what you want is you want domination over them. And you know, and I've come across people like this. You could argue with them for an hour, they just want the last say. And you just say to them, fine, have the last say. Just say the last word so we can end this. You become frustrated. Well, you've been told not to argue. So the first stage of fatwa is you don't argue. Why? Because it's basically linked to the ego. Secondly, you have the ability to forgive people who have wronged you happily. It's not about tolerating them. You have to be happy in forgiving them. Why is that? Because you have to understand this, right? You have to understand. That what's bruised is your ego. If you don't have the ability to forgive, then you're not a Shia. If you're still holding grudges in your heart against somebody else who's wronged you, then you're not a Shia. And because the maqamat of a Shia is linked to the maqam of fatwa. So you've got to understand, you have got to forgive. You know why you've got to forgive? Because the thing that's being hurt is your ego. I'll give you an example. If a dog barks at you, you don't shout back at the dog. Why? Because you don't see the dog as a worthy opponent. If a child says something to you, ignore it. The reason being is that a child, you don't see it as somebody or some person who's worthy. But when somebody you feel that's a peer of yours says something, what happens? Straight away, you feel hurt. Straight away, it hurts your ego. He didn't say salam to me. He shouldn't say salam to me. I'm not going to speak to them. Family feuds begin for the next 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. Grandchildren are thinking, why is it that I'm not speaking to this person? But okay, my grandfather had a problem with his grandfather. It's not the Shia way. If that's what you are today, then don't worry about it. Go to sleep. Because sleeping is better than doing ibadah tonight. And the reason being is this. When you're sleeping, you're not burning. You're not burning with hatred. So when you're sleeping, you're in la la land, you're not burning with hatred. It's better for you to sleep. Then forget it. Don't waste your time doing Aamal. Go to sleep. Because the potentiality of what you can achieve is not what you will achieve. So if you want to utilize this night, forgive. Start off by embracing those people who have wronged you. It doesn't say forgive only. It says embrace them. Honor them, the books of Irfan say, honor them. The reason being is this. Because they were a wasila for you to train your nafs. More so, it's actually the problems that befall us, the vast majority, because of our own selves. So what's happening is that you're being purified, so in the akhirah you don't face it. That's the first degree. Stop quarreling. First degree is this: stop quarreling. Honor those people who have wronged you, right? Remove the hatred from your heart. Only then can you progress to set the second degree. And this is what is known as tarbiyah jalaliya. You've got tarbiyah jamaliya and jalaliya. This is from the divine, from Mashiach almost, you could say, that you're being trained, giving tarbiyah. If you were such a good person, it wouldn't bring it to this point. You wouldn't be feeling all of these things, right? There's two ways of training somebody, with Jamal and with Jalal. And this is why we have certain traditions which are mansoob, that says that, pray to Allah, Allah, give me ma'arifah before you test me. So then the need for testing is not there. And many a time we go through difficulty for the purpose of the fact that without it, we will not have the awareness. So sometimes you've given a knockback. Because if you weren't given the knockback, in your arrogance, what would happen is that you would never actually truly understand God. Remember, what happens even with the angels? What happens with Adam? To complete the cycle is put into this world. Did Adam sin? No. The coming of this world is to improve his ma'rifah and to take him to Kamal. It's nothing to do with sin. But it required Adam to feel a bit of that pain of separation to truly understand what he was losing, right? So this is why everything is perishable in this world. It gives us an opportunity in this world. Things are perishable to truly understand the infinite. But anyhow, without going into deeper into that discussion. And then after that, Of course, you have the second degree and then you have the third degree. I'm not going to go into great depth in that. The reason being is this, is that even if we can do the first stage of futuwa, removing hatred, negativity, loving those people who have wronged us, look, this is why it's known as a makarim al-akhlaq. There's something which is the fadail of akhlaq. For example, the fadail would be eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, as fine as justice. Makarim al-akhlaq is deeper than that. Go back to what Jesus said, right? Sermon on the Mount. Somebody slaps you on the face, give him the other cheek. It doesn't literally mean give him the other cheek, right? In that respect, right? It means compassion, mercy, kindness. So, and this is the word of the Ahlul Bayt. There's a reason why it's been narrated in our tradition. إِنَّمَا بَعِثْتُ لِأَتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ يَتَمِّمْ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, right? To complete the makarim al-akhlaq, right? It means that it's not something only introduced by the Prophet. It was introduced from Adam. The Prophet completes it. So this understanding of akhlaq is in all humanity. But Islam is what completes it. And unfortunately today, sometimes if you look at the Muslims' characteristics and the way that they behave, it's not the best of characteristics. Your Prophet came, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, came to complete, right? So it becomes tam, right? It becomes common. So this is what's important. Tonight, remember this. Anyhow, now quickly going on to the Aamal, very briefly, bearing in mind tonight's a very important night. You're going to do ghusl first. Ghusl is important. The spiritual implications of ghusl is that you are washing away your sins. Now remember, for every time you sin, you are creating a hijab, right, between you and your Creator. You're creating hijab. His hijab needs to be broken. So what you're going to do tonight is you're going to do ghusl, because you're going to purify yourself from your sins. Then you're going to wear clothes which are clean, preferably white clothing, because white is symbolic of purity, rebirth. You've been reborn. You washed yourself on the white clothing. You've been reborn. On this night, if you can, feed people, right? Give iftar, something. Go and drop something on your neighbor's door. Because this action is mimicking the action of God. You see, if you want to be sharik, so to speak, in understanding what the highest level is, you see, Allah gives without wanting anything back. We give conditionally because we want something back. Tonight, give something because we have traditions on giving iftar. You know, like for example, Ayatollah Malik Tabrizi narrates, the teacher of Ayatollah Khomeini, spiritual master of Ayatollah Khomeini, says that, you know, he narrates a tradition from the Prophet, or Zahiran of the 8th Imam, from the 8th Imam. And he says that to give iftar, even a date, is like freeing a slave. Now remember, the connotations of freeing a slave means you're giving somebody life, you're saving their life. And a person who saves one life has saved the life of everyone. And secondly, what they're doing is their sins are being cleansed. It's your sins that prevent you from reaching God. So do, if you can, to feed somebody. Right, moving to the next stage. You've worn your white clothes. After that, you're going to recite 2 units of prayers, 7 times Qul Huwallah. Now remember, Qul Huwallah itself is Tawheed. It's the Tawheed of the Quran. And Surah Tawheed is symbolic because in the way that Surah Tawheed is in the Quran, Amir al-Mu'mineen is in Alam al-Kawn. So again, there's a nisbah over there. 7 times because hujab 7, hijab 7. So in your mind, you're breaking all the 7 levels to get to Allah. Once you finish this, after that, you're going to recite istighfar 70 times, 100 times, whatever is convenient for you. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh 70 times, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh 100 times. And again, the purpose and the intention is, you see, it's a dual purpose here. Astaghfirullah is you're repenting, wa atubu ilayh, and you're going back to God. It's the completion of the cycle. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It's the completion of the cycle. So when you're doing istighfar, obviously remember all the sins that you've done, but at the same time know that you are completing a cycle. It's about completing the cycle. You are doing istighfar, and then wa atubu ilayh, you're going back to God. In the way that it's been written, fataba alayh, and when Adam repented and Allah repented. Allah did tawbah. Allah's tawbah is to bring him back. Adam's tawbah is to go back towards Allah. So in this way, and this is what Allah says, Tawwab Rahim, right? So then you repent. And then after that, you have two beautiful a'mals. One, you put the Quran on your head. And the other one, you're going to open the Quran after that, and you're going to take Bika Ya Allah all the way down to the Hujjah alayhi salam. And this is the absolute tawassul. Because remember, Ahlul Bayt, when they intercede for you, so whatever, let's say, God forbid, in our repentance, something is still left. You're thinking to yourself, man, yeah, sometimes I do qada, and if I pray to Allah now to forgive me, and say if I do qada again, well, remember one thing, have the intention that you want Allah to forgive you completely, and you'll never make a qada, you'll do your prayer on time. Right? And inshallah, Allah will forgive you. Even if, God forbid, you were to do qada again, but because your intention is, because you had the intention, the niyyah, that you're repenting and you're never going to do qada again, even if you lapse, it's fine, Allah will forgive you again. As long as you have 100% certainty in what you do, even if you lapse, God will overcome that. But let's say, for example, if you have doubt that, I'm asking for forgiveness, but let's say if I do this again, then in that situation, then you're going to be stuck. Because obviously, you're asking, okay, Allah forgive me, but I may do it again. And if you're sincere, then the backlog could be forgiven. However, pray to Allah to give you the tawfiq not to sin again. See, that's what's important. So you must make sure that you've cleared all of your pathway. You're doubting, am I going to sin again, do this sin? Because you're not ma'soom, you're not imam ma'soom, right? So, and also remember that the quality of a Shia is that they will sin, but they repent fast. So as soon as you sin, straight away repent. Many a time people are embarrassed. Shall I raise this point to Allah? I'm so embarrassed, I said I wouldn't sin. That's fine. Allah wants you to come back to Him and say, look, I'm weak, you're strong. I'm dhaif, you're qawi. Allah forgive me. Give me the tawfiq not to do this again. That's how we do it. Right? So when it comes to the Aamal of the Quran, you're taking tawassul just in case something is remaining. Ahlul Bayt will help to remove that. And then after that, there are various different things. Surah Al-Qabut to recite once, Surah Dukhan to recite once, Surah Rum to recite once. Whatever is within your capacity, obviously 100 times, 100 rak'ah of salah namaz that you're going to recite. Whatever you do tonight, look, I'm not going to tell you to do everything. I'm going to say to you, do what you can do. And the best thing tonight is to stay awake. Whatever you do, just remember, don't lose it. Don't lose it by chatting. Don't lose it by doing ghiba. Ayatollah Burujurdi would say, I remember the first ever Laylatul Qadr I had in Qum. And I was staying at my cousin's house. He was a mujtahid in Jama Sharait. And I asked him, I said, look, what's the best thing we can do? And he said, Ayatollah Burujurdi would advise to study. So let's go and look at the sayings of Amir al-Mu'mineen and let's analyze them and have a discussion on them. So tonight, if you have even a portion to learn knowledge, just have a look at a hadith to discuss it with your family. That's a good thing as well. Joshna Kabir you're going to be reciting. And of course, Khallisna min an-nari ya Rabb. You're praying to Allah to remove from you the fire of hell. And all of these are important. Look, if I turn around to you and say, you'll have the ability to focus for an hour and a half in Joshna Kabir, you won't be able to do that. Right? Your mind is going to go one way to the other. 100% focus is impossible. Otherwise, you'd be waliullah. But try as much as you can do to focus on the words. And there are techniques. Again, I don't have time to go into those techniques. I don't want to elongate this. This was meant to be 15 minutes. I've gone over and above time. I'm going to say one final thing, therefore. The great Arif mystic Ayatollah Sayyid Abdul Kareem Kashmiri, who most of the big Orafa in Qom today are students of. Ayatollah Kashmiri was a student of Sayyid Ali Qadi Marhum, and he would study with Ayatollah Bahjat and Allama Tabatabai. Although Allama Tabatabai, Ayatollah Bahjat were older than him, but Ayatollah Kashmiri was one of the big students of Sayyid Ali Qadi Marhum, studied 4 to 5 years with Ayatollah Qadr. And when he was asked what is the best amal that one can do, he says the best thing you can do tonight is to recite Surah Qadr 1,000 times. This is for those people who are Ahl Irfan, who are into spirituality. Of course, you don't need to do that, there's no obligation. This is for those people who are Ahl Irfan. But even if you don't have time, and just a sincere dua is important. Sincerely, for even 5 minutes, talk to your Lord. Admit your mistakes. Admit your weaknesses. As they say, make promises to Allah that you can keep. If there's a haja that you have, say to Allah, Allah, I'll feed 60 orphans, and keep to it. I will do good work, good deeds, whatever it may be. But make a promise, a pledge to Allah, and then do your prayers. Inshallah, you will have the tawfiq to utilize tonight. I'm going to close there, but I'm going to make a prayer that Allah, bihaqq Fatima, who this night is mansoob to, bihaqq Amir al-Mu'mineen, who this night is also in many ways mansoob to, and for the sake of the Hujjah alayhi salam, the master of the times, Allah give all of us the tawfiq to utilize tonight. More so, the ability to forgive one another. May all of our hajat be accepted tonight as our destiny is made. We don't have another Laylatul Qadr for the next year. We don't know if we're going to be alive. So many of our brothers in the last 2 months have died. Sisters and brothers, well, mostly brothers have died. Some of them are ill today. Pray for them, Allah remove them from these difficult moments. Beg, cry to Allah so that all of our lawful desires can be fulfilled and we can be better human beings so that this message of Sayyid al-Shuhada that started in Karbala can be spread to all of the world. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala